Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the theme park evangelist. So my boss at Meyer was asking me today, so how's the YouTubing going? Well, I hate to say it, this is my first time in a week getting around to it. You know how it is. You get busy and all that fun stuff, and I think I did do a YouTube video actually a couple of days ago, so maybe I shouldn't say a week. Maybe that was a little too exaggerative. So I did do one right before the weekend, and my last one I did was talking about all the benefits and perks I have for working in Answers in Genesis. And now I'm going to tell you guys what it's like to work for Answers in Genesis. The reason why I've been kind of taking my time, as I said last week, um, I was on a leave of absence from Meyer, had a 24-hour bug, you know how it is. So, sorry. I was just trying to keep off of social media what was going on last week while I was on my leave of absence. Since, I'm technically supposed to be home and all that stuff. Now, I did find out that I can leave my house, but just to be safe, I will keep it off of social media. And this includes the social media, YouTubing. So, just to be on the safe side, yeah, we're not going to talk about what happened, but um, obviously, I know quite a bit about working for Answers in Genesis already, due to the fact that I'm going to be doing this YouTube video. Otherwise, I would only know a little bit of information. So, obviously, I have worked there enough to know what I'm talking about. But the real question is, in your minds, how much I've actually worked there. So, that's what you've got to figure out. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what days I worked there. I'm just going to give you guys an idea of what happened. And I think I'll just go with that. So before I get into the actual video, I'm just going to go over two very quick announcements. Won't take more than a couple of minutes, I promise this time. So the first announcement, just to let you guys know, in exactly 6 months, I'm going back to Central Florida. And that's about all I really have to say about that, is just the whole fact that I'm going back in exactly 6 months. Obviously, I'll have more information and details as time goes on. Still going to Epcot 6 months from, uh, I wouldn't say tomorrow, since there's 30 days in September and there's 31 days in March. So 30 days from this Thursday, I'll be, sorry, not 30 days, wow, 6 months from, let me think about that. Yeah, 6 months from this Thursday, I will be at not the Magic Kingdom, but at Epcot, attending the grand opening of the Ratatouille, or Remy's Ratatouille Ride Adventure, or whatever. I'm sorry, can't think here, But otherwise, I really wanted to let you guys know that I was talking to TJ early this morning, or messaging him, and it's because of the fact that we were talking last night, and TJ basically has decided that he no longer wants to go to the Keys for his birthday. He has been telling me that there's a really cool Daytona 500 race that's coming to Bristol, Tennessee, which is about 5 hours south of me ish. Kind of out towards Virginia or something like that. And he really, really wants to go see this race. And I figured, well, since it's only a couple of hours away from Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, why don't I meet him and Kay in Bristol next February? And then, obviously I would drive, because there really is no airports in Tennessee except for Memphis, which is crazy. I don't get that. Anyway, so I would drive all the way down there. Since I don't live that far away, they have a long drive, though. They have 10, 11 hours or something ridiculous like that. I'm going to be able to do it in one day easy. Might have to make a couple of stops, but otherwise, I got this. It'll be very easy. It's literally 300 miles, and my car can do 300 miles. I probably will end up stopping along the way just to make sure that I don't have to fill up again near the race, because who knows what the craziness is going to be closer to the race. And that way I don't have to worry about it again driving towards Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. That way I can just go. But yeah, we figured we would stay in we would stay in Bristol for a couple of days. Then we're gonna go over to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, and we're gonna explore the area, kind of see what's like over there. Probably stay somewhere in the area. Well, stay in Bristol for a couple of days, but spend the majority of it in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. I'm sure TJ and Kay will be more than happy to check out that area since we're already in the area, and there's a lot to do. I've heard it's a really cool touristy area. So, yeah, I'll let them know why I want to go to Gatlinburg. I'll tell them all there is to do out there. I'll even say you need to look it up because I've heard like everybody here in Northern Kentucky goes to Gatlinburg for vacation. Like, it is the place to be for whatever reason around here instead of going down all the way down to Florida. I grew up in Florida, so that's why I go. Anyway, I promised just a couple of minutes, and that was it. So, there you guys have it, going to Florida in about 6 months ish. And then, yeah, 6 months. And then going to northern Tennessee area a little less than a year. So you got some big trips to look forward to over the next year or so. And eventually, I do want to go on that cruise with TJ, and I know he wants to do that as well. We're praying and hoping that the pandemic, for the most part, will be over and done with. I don't know if they'll require coronavirus vaccine or COVID vaccine. I'm hoping not because I don't want to get it, but I already know I'm going to get some hate in the comments, but you know how that is. Alright, now let's start on the big discussion. So, for those of you who want to avoid all that jibber jabber, starting now is the discussion. So, basically, this is what it's like to work for Answers in Genesis, and we're going to start with day one, and we're going to end with my last day of work, so far, that is, which was Sunday. Obviously, I'm going to be with them for a while. I'm actually going to go full-time with them at one point. As of right now, I am full-time with Meyer still because Answers in Genesis literally just hired me, so there really is nothing full-time that they can give me at this time. You know how that is. So, they did offer me something really nice, and that's all I'm going to say about that because this is YouTube. Anybody can see this. Unfortunately, I did have to turn it down because I do need full-time, so that's as far as I'm going with that. But, yeah, I started out on my very first day of orientation. Now, the funny thing is, this was my repeat orientation. When I first tried going to orientation back a couple of weeks ago, before I went on COVID leave, well, what they call COVID leave, Meyer does, I was not actually on a COVID leave at all this time because I only had a 24-hour bug, but that's besides the point. Unfortunately, I had gotten back from vacation literally a couple of days ago, and they were like, "So did you do the paperwork that we sent you last week?" And I was like, "What paperwork?" Well, the paperwork, I should say. And they said, "Well, we sent it to you last week," and I honestly didn't even notice. I mean, with how crazy vacations are, and then TJ just having me go all over the place, it was kind of a crazy time. Like, TJ loves to go at a million miles per hour. I'm laughing about it now because it's in the past. Everything that happened at the beginning of the month, it doesn't matter anymore. It's in the past. I was really upset about it at the time, but it's done now. But yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. I was so upset. I drove all the way down there, and they said I couldn't take it or attend the orientation. Well, you'll understand why when we get to my official orientation day. So, sorry, I have a itch on my leg. But, yeah, unfortunately, because of the fact that I did not do that paperwork, we did have to reschedule it for a little less than 2 weeks away from when I originally was supposed to do it. Now, my manager that hired me, he was pretty disappointed because he was really looking forward to having me. And I know they could have really used my help. In some ways, it kind of worked out that I was able to wait because there's no way I would have been able to do a lot of hours for them. And then I wouldn't have been able to get the training that I really needed to be able to get up to speed with everybody else, so to speak. So it's almost like God intended for me to not remember the paperwork when I did. But I didn't think about that at the time. Sorry, something in my throat, man. But yeah, um, I basically drove all the way back, and I was like really upset. I managed to pick up a shift the next day. I did really nothing. I literally spent about a week and a half just trying to recoup and recover from my vacation because it was so exhausting. I remember talking about that on YouTube, and just try to work as much as I could. I wasn't going to school at the time. I started yesterday actually, and I am managing to find time for school. You'd be surprised. And then I finally did get a chance to go to orientation. So my very first official day, was not too long ago, and I drove all the way back out there, and this time I took it a little more seriously. And I thought to myself, okay, now I have done all the paperwork because the online paperwork was a bunch of signatures, getting my staff parking permit, making sure that I would get my lanyard. They need a picture of my driver's license and my social security card. They also needed to know my vehicle information in case I brought in some random car, and I would have to let them know in advance. Hey, I borrowed someone else's car today because they're constantly looking around the parking lot to make sure some guest didn't sneak in or anything. And honestly, I don't even know how because there isn't really a way into, excuse me, either the Creation Museum employee parking lot or the Ark Encounter employee parking lot without one of those lanyards that the employees get. So I'm very surprised that the security is as tight as it is, but you know how that is. But that was another thing I had to sign off on, and then I had to put in my bank account information. So I had to go through all that stuff. And when my orientation day came, I actually ran a couple minutes behind. I had to take my brother to um, my parents' house because he had to go get some stuff done. Now, I had no idea what I was expecting that day. I was like, like, what am I going to eat? And I'm like really, really hungry. Like, I don't even know how snacks work or anything. Like, the next day I didn't care so much, but you'll understand a little bit. So, I did make a quick stop in Dry Ridge and got some breakfast, and this unfortunately did throw me behind by a couple minutes. I really didn't have the time, and no, I didn't really know how long it would take me to get there. Like, I had an idea. Like, I've driven out there as a guest, but I've never really had the need to get there, as an employee just yet because of the fact that I've always just been able to show up whenever I want. So I got there like at 9:02, and I guess they decided, well, around 8:55 to 9. Well, we got everybody we needed. Let's go. So they all got on the employee bus that was actually just about to pull away, and the employee bus ironically was taking its time boarding people. Now, I'll tell you why this is ironic. I've learned just working there, the employee bus does not sit around very long. It sits around for like a couple of seconds, and then it's like, all right, everybody's here, I'm going, and then it'll come back eventually because it has to go down to over by the answer center, and it drops off whoever needs to go down there, and then it has to go all the way behind the Ark Encounter, that is, and then it kind of does a turnaround back there, and then it drops off everybody else, and then it heads all the way back to the employee parking lot. And it does this cycle all day long, and of course, there's only like one bus that's running right now, because there's not a lot of employees working, not enough to utilize two buses, because each bus can handle like 50 employees or something like that. It's actually quite a bit of employees for one bus, and obviously, you're not always going to have a lot of employees on the bus at a time. Most of the employees getting on the bus are at night. I would say they should have at least two buses running at night, but they don't seem to have enough need for it. And then of course the other issue is they just don't have enough staff to drive the employee buses for them to make it worth their while. So I discovered that. That particular day, I had my temperature checked while I was on the bus. We were all allowed to park in the guest parking lot because none of us had the employee badge at the time. So we all got on the bus, had our temperature checked while, at least I got my temperature checked while I was riding. I'm sure they all got theirs prior to that. And that was the first time that I had been on the employee bus ever. And we drove all the way down behind the arc, and I was like, and I saw that the employee bus, it follows a kind of a different path to the guest bus. I don't know if any of you find this interesting. Like, I do, because I love Answers in Genesis, and this gives me something different to talk about than Disney all the time, because I've been Disney lately. So I'm really glad to be able to talk about something different. But yeah, the Answers in Genesis bus follows a slightly different path from the guest bus, and then it kind of merges back into, like, let me just put it this way. So here's the path for the buses. The employee bus kind of comes around and does this number, but it stops on this side. The guest bus goes up and around and comes back and stops on this side of it. And the guest bus drops off guests here and picks up around here or something like that. Anyway, so the guest buses, from my understanding, they'll circle around, they'll come back, and they'll go off. And if I'm not mistaken, I mean, I haven't been on the guest bus, like, going from the guest parking lot to the arc itself in quite a while, so I can't remember if the two buses follow the same path the entire time, or if they split ways near the end. But, the, as far from what I'm understanding, the, guest bus kind of goes off a different way, and then the employee bus kind of goes off a different way. They merge in the middle somewhere, and they kind of stay together all the way until you get over by the answer center, like right at the front of it. And then the guest bus kind of goes off this direction to the left, and the employee bus goes off to the right. Because all the guests got dropped off in front of the answer center, most employees get dropped off behind the arcing counter, and they disperse from there. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So that was the first thing I noticed when I first started. So then we walked to Mzara's, because we had our trainers at the time, and they took us through Mzara's. Mzara's is a very big restaurant at the Ark Encounter. It is probably the only buffet that Answers in Genesis has, if I'm not mistaken. And they feed thousands of people a week. I'm not even kidding when I say thousands. Like, I heard last Saturday they had 7,000 people come through in just one day. So I could even say they feed thousands in just a day. And that's just mind-blowing, considering there's not a lot of outdoor food and beverage venues open right now at the Ark Encounter, and then there's only one restaurant at the Creation Museum, but the Creation Museum does not get anywhere close to the amount of people that the Ark Encounter gets. The Ark Encounter is significantly popular compared to the Creation Museum. So yeah, we went inside and we went upstairs. So Mzara's has two floors. Typically during the wintertime, Christmas time, the second floor is closed because it's so quiet. it's busy enough right now that they're allowing the second floor to be in use. So we went upstairs. I haven't been upstairs in a long time. I don't even know if I've even been upstairs before. And they have a couple of soda fountains up there, and they have a ton of tables and chairs. They even have a balcony you can sit out on, and everything's completely covered upstairs and downstairs. It's great. I think they said typically they can seat up to like 20,000 people at that restaurant, which I'm not surprised by, which is about as many people as Cosmic Race or like Cafe at Magic Kingdom can handle. But I don't remember offhand how many people that restaurant can handle, like what's the max capacity. But Amzara's can definitely handle a lot of people for sure. And we went into this conference room where the trainers were doing the orientation. So they had Christian music playing, and we were allowed to go and get like something to drink, whether it was coffee or soda. They had snacks like chips and candy in the back for us if we wanted it. So I was thinking to myself, okay, so maybe I didn't have to stop for breakfast. They had some snacks. So we did a lot of like listening and going through a booklet, taking notes, stuff like that for a couple of hours. I'm not going to go into full detail, obviously, because it's boring. And it was about 11, because this was a longer day for us. We stopped and we went downstairs. So they gave us all a comp card for a free meal at Amzara's, which I've only been there one time for a dinner, and it was one of the last times. Not one of the last time. It was not the last time. It was just one of the last times I decided to use my Kings Island ID to get myself in for free, and I kind of felt bad that day. So yeah, I don't know how I managed to get a free meal. I guess the coordinator, who I actually recognize, I don't know if she remembers me from that night. I doubt if I asked her, do you remember the one guy who came in and didn't have a voucher? She probably wouldn't remember. There's thousands of people that roll through there every single day. Even though she's probably has seen my face enough times by now, she probably may or may not remember me. Doesn't matter. I remember her though. That's how I remember her. It's like, I remember you from that one night. But anyway, we're not gonna go there. But I guess she called up Jerry, and she told him about the guest, and Jerry is very cool. Jerry does not want any unhappy guests, so he allowed it. Now that if he had known it had been me, because he knows who I am, he would have definitely been okay with it. But he didn't know it was me at the time. When I first started going to the Ark Encounter as a guest, I only knew Jerry, which I didn't know Jerry was working there at the time, I'll be honest. And I knew Mary Jo and maybe a couple of other people, and that was about it. I really didn't know anybody at the Ark Encounter. I was kind of a nobody, vagabond, you could even say. So I've really come a long way since I started the Ark Encounter, which is why I like talking about the Ark Encounter so much with my family. Because I went from being a nobody to being somebody, actually. I mean, yeah, I do still feel like I have a long ways to go, but it's nice being able to go there whenever you want and be able to get in legally for once. But anyway, those days are over. The days when I used to use the Kings Island ID after it was technically expired. I just didn't always have the money for a ticket, and I know I shouldn't have even bothered going, but I love going Ark Encounter so much. And that was really my only way in. And the Ark Encounter is my favorite of the two Answers in Genesis attractions. But yeah, they gave us a free meal. So a meal at Amzara's is 2 meats, 2 vegetables, 1 side. I'm not going to tell you what everything is, obviously. We're going to have to go one time as a guest, and I'll show you exactly what they serve you at Amzara's, because I would have to get lunch there, and I would actually show you what they do serve you, which is another reason why I really want to go back there again sometime as a guest to show you guys the COVID update and show you guys what they serve you at Amzara's. Especially since currently work there, technically, or currently work there. So that makes it even more interesting. I mean, I could go on and tell you everything about it, but I'd rather just show you guys for myself and make it more interesting. Because I would rather, you know, make it more exciting for you guys than be a know it all and show off all my knowledge and all that stuff, even though I don't have anywhere close to the knowledge as the experts do. But still, but they did say, for someone who just got hired by the company, I do have an impressive amount of knowledge on Answers in Genesis, so that's a good thing at least. So then afterwards, we walked around Mount Ararat Ridge Zoo. So this is a zoo right behind the Ark Encounter, named after Mount Ararat, which is the mountain that Noah's Ark rested on after the flood deceased or ceased or whatever. And we walked around there for a little while. It was kind of hot and humid, so I was kind of like, I don't want to be done. I'm so full, I just don't really want to walk around. But it wasn't terribly too long. We eventually came back and we took more notes and heard more lectures. We did end up taking one more walk. At this point, we had to bring everything with us. So we brought everything that we had, and we started out over by the Ark, and we kind of walked all the way towards um, the Answer Center. Kind of made a couple of pit stops here and there, and then we ended up in the Answer Center. And then they said, "Oh, we're gonna allow you guys to take the guest bus home this time, so you don't have to walk all the way back." And we were like, "Okay, cool." So we got on the guest bus. We were out of uniform, so it's not like we were going to stick out like a sore thumb or whatever. The next day we had to park in the employee parking lot. They kept stressing over and over again where we needed to park and how we're going to get in there. I actually found it very easy to find the parking lot and to find my way out. Well, not find my way out, but find my way in after I got in the parking lot. So that part was very, very easy. And they even said that to us, yeah, fun. Getting in the parking lot's easy, well, getting out's the hard part. And they were not kidding when they said that, and I'll get to that later. So, the second day was kind of the same as the first. This time we talked all about Answers in Genesis and how important the company is and, like, what makes it stick out from other companies. And even the trainers said how they could work for other jobs. Like, I work for Meyer, and I easily could just stay with Meyer if I wanted to. Like, I make enough money with them that I really don't need another job. And I do a very, very good job at what I do at Meyer, and I get along very well with a lot of people. Like, honestly, for the most part, I don't really have a reason to leave Meyer, but the reason why I'm mainly leaving Meyer is to go on the ministry. And that's what Answers in Genesis is. And they said if you come to the Ark Encounter or the Creation Museum with the mindset this is a job, then you probably would be better off leaving, because Answers in Genesis is more than a job; it's a ministry, and that's the kind of attitude that we want you guys to have coming to work every day, is knowing that this is a ministry and that you're here for on behalf of God and Ken Ham for that matter, and that's the attitude I have. It's not like going to work at a grocery store or at a fast food restaurant or Walt Disney World, even Universal or Legoland. Even something like TJ does and mowing lawns and pulling weeds all the time. Or another job I used to do was Kings Island. It's more than even that. This is way more, and they were not kidding by all that stuff. So that's kind of what that second day was all about. They did give us another free meal at Amzara's. I felt like it was more meaningful the first day. And the funny thing is, the second day, I saw Jerry a lot. Jerry is the manager who hired me. That's why I keep talking about him. And Jerry, I also know a Jerry at Meyer too. That Jerry is really cool too. But this is a Jerry that my dad used to work for, and I honestly believe that the only reason why I got into Answers and Justice, not just because of God, but because this manager saw something in me that only took 2 years for it to happen. Like, let me start over. What I mean by that is, it took 2 years for the company to see me, and part of it was my fault. I admit I stuck my foot in my mouth when I first um, applied for the company. I scared them off when I told them everything that happened between me and Disney. So God had every right to deny me a job at Answers and Genesis when I first moved here. I get that. The next year, I would have gotten in, but the pandemic happened. So unfortunately, that happened. But God knew that this was the year that I was going to get in. Not just because I was mentally ready, but because Ark Encounter was ready for me too. They knew this was the year they're going to need help. And by this point, my dad and my brother are pretty well known in the company. And I don't know. I came to that interview with a much better attitude that I was not going to leave without a job. Whether I was going to get a call in a few weeks or not, I didn't know I was going to get hired on the spot. No, I hate to brag, I have gotten hired at every single job on the spot since I got hired. Since I first started working in 2012, I don't honestly know how that's happened though. That's the thing. I really don't know, but I'm not going to complain about it, and I'm very, very humble about it and thankful about it too. It's very nice to know that there are people out there who are willing to hire people on the spot and not say, "Well, we're going to give you a call in a couple of weeks every single time" to me, other and there might be other people who unfortunately get locked out like that. So yeah, I was very thankful that it took 2 years for me to get into Ark Encounter, and ironically, the person who hired me was the person who um, my dad used to be under, and he even knew my brother. And now I get to work for this guy, and I get to show him what I'm worth, and show him that I'm worth keeping for quite a while, maybe even making full time. And I really want to do my best for him, especially since I've been with Meyer for 2 years, and I'm ready for a change. I've been with the grocery business for 9 years now. It's crazy. So there's all that, and then of course, and that's just all included in like why I want to work for the Answers and Justice Ministry. That's the reason why the second day is so important. Also, that was the day I actually got a chance to talk to this manager, and also finally we did my favorite tour, which was walking around the Ark Encounter. I love the Ark Encounter so much. I've done it at least 25 times, if not more. Still is not boring to me. I prefer going around it by myself, especially with a camera, so I can point out things that I may not have noticed before and stuff like that. Now, obviously, I would rather keep it secret where, like, HR is and where this office is. I would rather keep secret that there is a fourth deck. Well, oops, I just gave that away, but I'm not gonna say what's up there. But I will at least say this much: there is 3 decks open to the public, and there's a fourth deck that's for employees only. Trust me, wouldn't want to go up there anyway. And honestly, I even felt unsafe kind of walking around that area because it was not designed for the public to walk around. So that doesn't mean it's unsafe. It just means that it's not designed the same way as the other decks are. But it's getting late, and I do have to go get my brother soon, but I'm just trying to hurry up and get through this. So, there was all that. Finally was able to figure out my availability with my manager, and then came back the next day. This is where I was unsure because of the fact that of what was going on, and I did manage to come in. So I came in right at 2 as he asked, and he showed us the entire kitchen, me and a couple of others, and then, well, not really him, but somebody else did, and then we walked around kind of the downstairs. We walked around the back area. We walked around the entire outdoor food and venue area. We walked around the answer center. We walked around the entire arc again, well, at least part of it, and saw where some of the food and beverage areas are. And that took a couple of hours, and then eventually we came back to the Amzara's buffet, and a couple of us stayed behind and worked. I ended up staying the longest and working until close, and then I left. I came back the next 2 days, and I worked 10 to 6:30. Sounds like my brother's ready to go. God, I'm almost done here. But yeah, I did 10 to 6:30 the next couple of days, and then I came back from work. Like, by the time I got done working at the Ark Encounter at 6:30, and by the time I would get back to the car and almost to the road, it was basically, well, at least on the Thursday, it was after 7. On the second day, I ended up staying an extra hour. So by the time I got back home, it was about 8:30 or something like that. I don't remember. Another benefit I found out about working at the Ark Encounter, I don't remember if this happened on the Wednesday, and might have, but I know for sure this happened on Thursday and Friday. So I found out that all the employees get 5 minutes if you work in food and beverage, and it's whatever was left over from the buffet that day. This is their fastest way of getting rid of the food instead of throwing it all out. They just give it to all the staff and the food and beverage department and say, well, at that restaurant anyway, and then they say, here you go, take whatever home you want. You only get one container though, because whatever we don't get rid of, we're gonna throw out, and that's what they prefer to do. But they're willing to at least share it. So I'm basically like cramming in as much food as I can in one container. It's hilarious. And Sunday night, I actually had to use tape to keep it closed. That was funny. So yeah, that's another thing that I've gotten to do since I've worked at Zara's. And then Sunday was kind of interesting because that was the first time that I got to experience what it's like to get the free meal that they give all Answers and Genesis employees. So Ark Encounter was a little nicer. They kind of had a hot free buffet set up for the employees. They had let us have or put together a container, and we would get like rice and General Tso's chicken, and we put some sauce over it. They also had some cornbread, and then they also had some of the dessert from the buffet as well. So I thought that was kind of cool. I'm not going to say what it was because it's not that important, but the point is they would have all that food, and then I would take it upstairs and I go put myself a couple of like Mountain Dew together from the soda fountain, because working in food and beverage, you also get all the free drinks you want, which is great, unlimited, as long as you ask, if you're working, that is, or, well, not really ask, but let them know, hey, I'm going to go get myself a drink, just to let you know, because that was one of the first things they said to me. You can go get a drink whenever you want, but you have to let them know first. So I was like, okay, cool. But otherwise, what I have been doing at Zara's lately is I've been working the buffet. Now, they call it the island, I call it the buffet because it makes more sense to everybody else. So I'm doing what they have been doing at a CC's up here in northern Kentucky, where I'm behind the buffet. I'm wearing all the proper safety equipment to keep the guest safe while they're getting their food. So a employee at the very beginning will get them a plate or a tray and ask them what kind of meats do you want. The tray will get passed down to the next employee. Then that employee will pass the plate or tray to me, and I will finish off the plate or tray and then hand it to the guest. I don't know if I necessarily have the most important part. Like, all I'm doing is finishing it off and then handing it over to the guest. I personally think the first employee has the most important because they also have the most guests that come at them, and you have to be the most experienced to work that position. So, I personally think that the first employee working the buffet has the absolute hardest versus the last employee, and the dessert employee have it the easiest. Because I think the dessert employee has it pretty easy for the most part, but ironically, they've never allowed me to do the desserts yet, which is kind of interesting, unless there's more to the desserts than I actually think there is. But, time will tell, I guess. But that's pretty much everything you need to know about working for Answers in Genesis at this time. Obviously, I didn't go over quite everything because there's just so much information. Now, when I come back again next week, because I'm going to be doing this 1 week at a time, I would like to. Let's see here. I would like to talk about why you get a free meal on a Sunday. Because, well, I mean, short version is because of the fact that you're willing to work on a Sunday. Not everybody is, but. And then also, I'm going to talk about why this year is going to be the busiest year for working at or I mean just visiting Answers in Genesis in general. So that's going to be the main title of next week's vlog, which is why 2021 is going to be the busiest year for Answers in Genesis. And then I'm also going to talk about why you get a free meal working on a Sunday at the Ark Encounter. So make sure you stay tuned in for next week's vlog. And also, I'll be posting my discussion vlogs like Life as a Working Disney cast member from time to time. Just depends on college and all that. So I'm going to go get my brother, and then I'm going to stay up for a couple of hours doing some reading for my sociology class tonight. And then tomorrow night, I'll do a little bit more of that. I seem to be only able to do my YouTube video whenever my brother is not home because of the fact that I've got Andrew in his room with the door open. Zane doesn't really pay attention, and then my brother usually is down here in his room. So that leaves me in my room, which is not really that big. It's kind of small, and it's just no fun sitting there on my bed. And my brother has the biggest room, so my brother definitely wins with where I do my YouTube channel. And if Andrew's not home, then I'll go do my YouTube video upstairs because I don't want him to come out in the family room and stare at me going, "What are you doing?" Anyway, I will see you guys in the next vlog, and always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great night. Peace out.